Hey guys, what's up? Game Pizza Boy here, host of the Pizza Party. Hope you're all doing great. Welcome back to the channel. And I got some pretty cool stuff to talk about. My thoughts on obviously the Nintendo Direct that just came out just today. There was a lot of stuff to talk about here. Not too exciting as much as I would expect to be when I watched it, but honestly, it was still pretty cool to see some pretty cool stuff right there. There was some pretty interesting games that I was covering very much, going through it, like obviously the Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe they're doing. Obviously, some of the other cool small games they were announced right there. But the main ones I'll be covering right now in this video, I want to talk about because they're the ones I'm most excited for the most, is the cool, nice addition to Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games being introduced into Nintendo Switch Online, so you can play them for that in the expansion pass. The cool Pikmin 4 gameplay details and my thoughts on it. The awesome Mario Kart 8 Course Pack update, Wave 4, which will include Yoshi's Island as a course, and Birdo returning back into the mix there with some other color variations, and obviously some thoughts I thought about with the cool Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom trailer that came out just also today as well. So there's some pretty exciting stuff I want to kind of cover with you. So let's go ahead and go through it. But before we begin, I hope you guys at least enjoyed this, find this video enjoyable. Make sure to hit that like button and comment down below and tell me your thoughts. What do you think about everything so far about the Nintendo Direct? What are you most anticipated for? If you have anything, so let me know. And make sure to subscribe to help support the Pizza Party here on YouTube. You can also go check out my multi-link down below if you want to go see all the socials there, including on my Twitch when I go live at the Pizza Party, twitch.tv/gamingpizzaboy. In fact, also mentioning as well, I'll be live tomorrow, 12 p.m. CST, to play actually some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the first time and get online. So if you want to come join some races, come join in for that for sure. But without that being said, let's not waste any time. Let's get into some pretty cool details. So first, Pikmin 4 special. Let's just get that out of the way, obviously, of course. Obviously, Pikmin 4. There was a lot of cool stuff going on right there. So obviously, it looks like that we get a good look at the ship that these so-called different people, like these people are taking off right now into the distant planet, or PNF 404. I don't know what species they are exactly, if they're the Kolpis or the Hokataians, or if there's someone else entirely that's close by similar to them. But we can see them land on the planet as well. And we get a good look at the distant, the logo right here, which is pretty cool, the four with the yellow flowers. Let's take a look at, see everything else right here a little more. So we got ourselves a good look of the beautiful location. It looks like there's like one area that looks like a park or something like that. It's like a bench there, showing the human life left behind right there. You can see one of the creatures right there. I forget what they call that again, but I know it's that guy that's like they breathe fire and they knock you down if you have too much Pikmin around there, of course. There's these nice little bird-like creatures right here. You can see there's like these bird creatures, which is pretty interesting. I do like what they're going to go for. They remind me of those like big bird creatures, like the snargrits or whatever you call it. I forgot. It's been a while since I played Pikmin, so I can't remember the creature names as much, all of them, but I do recall something like that. So maybe it's like a baby version of it. Although I don't know if they'll be more threatening or they'll be just innocent versions of the such creature right there. So that's pretty interesting right there to kind of go for. And I'm only just pointing out most of the stuff that I'm interested in the most. We can see that we see the ship crashing. This must be the or not crashing, landing. This is where they land in that one location. I can see it's a very small version of the ship. It looks like the typical just part where the ship just kind of floats in. Because if you played Pikmin 2, the Hokatech ship that both Olimar and Louie had actually could detach its head and float with it and act similarly to what it does typically is normal. So probably that's the concept right there. So it's still like a ship, but it's not as big as you expect it to be. It's like a more smaller version, so it's not a lot right bigger to deal with pretty much. So that's pretty cool. Then we get a good look at our, I guess, the first main captain. And right here we can see she is like someone with brown hair, nice hair. It looks like nice little cheeks, rosy red cheeks, and the nose and stuff like that. And you can see looks like it's wearing like some kind of red clothing right there. And also we don't see Olimar or Louie during this, by the looks of it, or anyone else. It doesn't think it's a different kind of group, either if they're the same from Hokatech or Kopai or someone else, but they definitely seem to be a similar group to the faction. Maybe Olimar maybe is related to them and maybe sent them off to go and investigate the planet, maybe to gather treasure, because we saw briefly something that was treasure related, because in Pikmin 2 they had to get it for like the depth, the payoff for Hokatite for the Pokos. So I can imagine the kind of concept right here. We get a good look at her in this way as well, wearing this red suit. She has her whistle and that's so she's well prepared. We get a good look at the nice greenery around, and also we see this potted plant right here, which is similar to what we've seen later in the trailer of them pulling the plant basically and trying to remove it to get the path out of the way. As we see later on, also we get a good look at the The onion, of course, as well. You can see the onion. Based on the design, they definitely changed it a lot different. I've seen the many variations. It changed a lot. Like, I remember it was first like that. It was like, it looks like an actual onion with the flower on top, and it has like a nice little pattern on there. And it was like only for yellow, blue, and red. Purple and white were the first Pikmin, and Pikmin 2 did not have an onion. And then when Pikmin 3 came out, the purple and white were not shown again completely, unless you played the challenge mode. But in normal story mode, they were just replaced by the rock and the wing Pikmin. And they actually had their own onions too, and they all grouped together. And we see that concept in just a moment. Also, okay, briefly also as well, in this trail, we do get a good look at some things right here. So let me kind of rewind and slow down a little bit and just kind of give you guys a good look of everything. So if we look closely right here, you guys can see that we're looking at what appears to be, if we look closely at one little part right here, you can see obviously on the right here, you can see the flowers. So the flowers are obviously back, the pellet posies, which will be used if you want to give it to your Pikmin. We also get a good look at what appears to be a bigger rocket ship. So technically, that means I thought this was the main thing, of course, but I guess that's not the case. So I guess the ship right here is the main, obviously, one right now, which I gotta say looks really cool and looks so different compared to the main ships we've seen. It's like when the SS Dolphin that we seen in the first Pikmin looked like a very typical cartoony like ship. The second one had like a more kind of like truly sci-fi mechanical metal kind of style structure of a ship. The third one on design had like some kind of nice little like kind of like almost some kind of typical satellite style or alien kind of style ship in some way. And now this looks like a flat out rocket ship. And like, as I like obviously just show right here, as I just cover up my camera real quick right here, you guys can see obviously a good look of it right here. You can see the tip of it right here completely down to the bone of the full rocket ship. It looks pretty neat though, not gonna lie. I do have to say it looks pretty cool, and it's a unique structure pretty much, so I have to say like that. You also get a good look of obviously the little floating guy again right here. So obviously this must be where maybe you'll deliver your treasure and other stuff into that. And we get a good look at the onion in this place. I see there's also these red crystals around here. I guess they add a circle to let you know what's the range when the Pikmin have to take their pellets or enemies in the onion or anything like that, or the surrounding area where you expect the Pikmin to fall. So that's like a little detail right there, I believe. We get a good look of our character obviously plucking the Pikmin out of the ground. And we get a good look of our buddy, the red Pikmin again, once again, and back in action. Red Pikmin's still looking pretty cool as always. Obviously, I love the design. They're still keeping him as such right there. So we're ready and back in action once again to help you out. Of course, as you know, the red Pikmin are known to help out with a lot, deal with fire right there. So that is pretty cool right there to help out, to have them out in action right there and see them in action. We also get a look at this one point right here, where we see the onion, but you can see now yellow and blue is in the mix right there, and we get a good look at onions in this place. But it looks so weird to me compared to the Pikmin 3 one, because it had like this weird kind of like sloshy kind of looking feeling. Like when you look at it, it's like the colors are moving, like there's something liquid in it, something like that. This looks like a solid, right? It's like they took all the onion and just simply like they squished them like pretty much like glue almost right there, or like Play-Doh, and it just like stuck there as one. So this must be what the concept looks like now for what the onion will look like. Obviously, but in similar concept like Pikmin 3, it looks like they're doing the same thing here. I remember how obviously in the first and second game, we all know that they had like their own separate onions, but it looks like they're continuing that faith in Pikmin 3, where they just combine onions as one, just so they're just in that one spot rather than them just taking up every spot. So I can see what that is, because obviously with a lot of Pikmin going on, you definitely want to make sure there's enough room at least, and that would be too crazy to have that many onions out. We get a good look at them coming out right there, including blues and yellows. Yellow Pikmin, we know, is good at jumping pretty high, which can help for many locations, and also pretty good for being resistant to electricity. So they're good for like electric enemies and even go past electric traps. So they'll come handy. Blue Pikmin, they're very immune to water, so they can breathe underwater and help you get anything out of that. So that's pretty good as well. There's also a brief moment right there. I just noticed right there, if we look closely at that one bit, we do see at the cursor, what appears to be the cursor right there. If you look at the corner right here, and if we look at that, there's also a 10 red Pikmin. So I guess that's like a good highlight they're adding to let you choose the color you want and tell you how many you still got in your group right, to make it easy to kind of distinguish. So I do like that. That's a nice distinguished way to kind of get a good look easily. So pretty neat right there. There's also a couple of things I'll point out as well. I love the details. So there's the bench again, like we saw briefly in the beginning of the trailer when after we saw the space logo. We see a couple potted plants details. So this is some kind of either a park area or a backyard. I think this is the backyard. Unless, of course, someone happens to own a park bench or something like kind, but that's pretty cool. I see someone in the distance over here. It looks like a fruit or something like that, or some red thing. I don't know what that is. It looks like someone. There's also these weird little crystal things right here. I can't really put my finger on it on that part. It looks like a bluer version of these pink crystals I can see in the distance. I don't know what they are. They look like ice, but probably they're not ice because they would have melt in the sunlight right now. So they're probably some kind of crystals that were left behind there. So that's pretty cool. See, the Pelposi also changed color as well. They were just red and they turned blue. I like that. Pretty neat right there. Oh, another scene right here we get a look at. Appears to be... It looks like from across away from it because there's the bench again. And I think that is the same one. I can't tell. I can't see the other pot plants over there, so maybe not. But what's so interesting, though, about this, though, is that that makes me really questionable about this. Because the whole concept of the distant planet or PNF 404 was, I thought it was like an abandoned planet, like the humans just went away or they gone extinct or something like that, because you usually see a lot of these items but no sign of human life at all, just these creatures that are not what you expected. But this is the first time that we're seeing more of these really human things, a bit more expanded. It's not just the bench and at all. I'm also explaining, you see also these bricks, you see the fence and gate area right there, the brick fence and stuff like that, but then you also see the gigantic house in the distance. Like, there's a giant house. Like, huh? That's interesting right there. I'm like pretty intrigued about the idea about what's gonna happen if you can go to that house. I'm pretty intrigued by that. I'm very intrigued to see where they're kind of going for with that. So pretty interesting right there. We also see another group of Pelposis right around the corner right here, somewhere in this corner. We also see a bowl board right there, obviously. A couple more rocks, sand, more bricks area. We see those crystals over in that direction, and we do see the item that we were carrying a little bit later on the trailer, and there's like a pair of binoculars, which I think is a treasure. I think in this game, we're going back to treasure again, because in the concept of what we see, it's always about collecting stuff. In the first game, we had to get the ship parts for Olimar. Second one, we had to get treasure to pay for depth. The third one, we had to get fruit to feed and the hungry Kopies. And now this one looks like we're going back to treasure again, I think, by the looks of it right there. So that's pretty cool. Another look at this. I think it's from behind perspective, I believe. I can't tell, but it's another location. There's a sand bridge in the back right there. That could be something you have to repair and build. I remember you had to get pieces of it in Pikmin 3 to build a bridge. There's also some more areas right here. Like, it's like a toy-like area, more pellets, a 5-1. There seems to be a playground like here. I guess this looks like a slide. I see one of those little climbable things for the kids to play on, so it looks pretty cool. And the flowers. And also, it seems like there's a lot of cherry blossom trees as well, too. So I like where there's pink petals right there floating about, so that's pretty cool. Good look right here. We see the sandcastle walls returning again. So obviously we know we have to use the Pikmin to destroy them, obviously. So we get a good look at them, as you can see right there. So obviously we do know they are back in action again. You have to use the Pikmin to destroy these walls, such as the sandcastle ones. We also get a good look now at this creature again, and whatever it is. I can't remember still its name. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments section below. I'd like to know about that if to remind me. We see this creature in action, and we see the Pikmin attacking him, and the fire going out. But obviously, of course, we know fire will not work against the red Pikmin, because obviously the red Pikmin are immune, so they are able to resist it very well and attack him with ease. But although I'm pretty sure after he starts glowing, he's going to then just knock him, throw him off, obviously, of course, like I've seen in previous Pikmin games. We also get a look at the same thing I was talking about earlier with the weird root and the dirt right here blocking the pathway right there. It looks like the Pikmin have a new way to have to pull something to remove it, and with enough it then pulls it off, and boom, it breaks. It completely is destroyed as a whole right there. So completely gone, completely destroyed. We also get a look of the 10 Pelposi once again returning again. So the 10 Pelposi is back at action once more, as you can see. So we get a good look at that right there. So that's gonna give you like 10 Pikmin, or you get double if you use the right pellet for the right kind of Pikmin. So that means it'll be like 20, I believe. At least I think it's the same follows that situation, because originally in many games, if you get a similar color, pellet brought to the same color onion, you would get double of that. So for 1 it'll be 2, and for 5 it'll be 10, I believe, remember, and then 10 will be 20 or something like that. So I don't know if it still follows that same situation, but it's been a while though, remember. Also, we get a good look at something else more besides just seeing also the crystals over here in this distance. You can also make out what appears to be from here the return of those the spicy berries. So back in Pikmin 2, they introduced the spicy berries, And there was like these two different kinds of berries, the purple ones and the red ones. The red ones, if you use that, would buff your Pikmin up to become more stronger and faster for everything. And the purple ones would let you use that on enemies, and you could literally freeze them and turn them to stone temporarily. So it looks like they make a return. Now, I know they were in Pikmin 3, the red ones. So it looks like they're back at it again to boost up your Pikmin, obviously. We also see this appears to be this hatch, which is Golden Light, which based on what we're going to see later on, is probably the cave locations, which in Pikmin 2 introduce caves that you can go into to find treasures. So my guess, they are back in action again, and it looks like we'll be seeing them once more as we enter those underground levels and go through them to find treasure and survive different threats that we'll see as we're looking later on the trailers. We also get a look of what appears to be right there, though, just briefly. Sorry, I just need to let me go back to that right now. This moment right here, which looks like appears to be some kind of sand-like, like some kind of wall. But then you see Pikmin go up to it, and the next thing you know it just turns into a rock climb, basically. So it looks like there's some climb-related stuff you gotta do. Probably Pikmin has to form into something of that matter. So it looks pretty cool, though. I do like what they're going for. Also, moving on before we continue up ahead, we do get a good look at more of this playground-like area. You can see that we get a good look at what appears to be, I think, the onion right here, and there's our ship-like locations. This must be where the spot point in another location. This definitely looks like it's probably another location because I don't see the bench area, and I see another house in the corner right there. There's also this weird creature right here that's very, very interesting. He's got looks like what appears to be like a small little chickie, like a chicken like body, like a little small like a little baby chick body, what appears to be some kind of like horn like beak on his head, on his like as a mouth right there, which is pretty interesting. I wonder if this guy's gonna be like another one that will gobble the Pikmin, or maybe it'll be like something that will blow it away or something like that. Because I remember those other creatures that can like blow them out that float, but who knows? It's pretty interesting to see where that kind of goes for that reason too. We also get a good look at the binoculars that I mentioned earlier, which I believe is like some kind of treasure. We see the Pikmin pick them up. I don't know if it's gonna be treasure or maybe it could be like an upgrade for something important. But obviously it gets taken back and it gets collected, and does say new treasure collected, so it is a treasure right there, as we stated. Interesting to see what that's gonna be like. Now for the big juicy part right here, and that is the really introduction of the ice Pikmin right there. So they announced our first new Pikmin. Obviously, we had so far right now red Pikmin and blue Pikmin, yellow Pikmin, the purple Pikmin, which are the strong ones, the white Pikmin, which are poisonous, the rock Pikmin, which are good to break down glass and still are quite strong, the wing Pikmin, which are flyable creatures right there. And now we introduced to a new entirely Pikmin, the ice Pikmin, which has this which honestly gives off like a rock Pikmin vibe, but they're just made of ice. So pretty interesting to see where they go for this reason. Ice Pikmin is pretty cool. So I like the concept right there. It looks like, as you can tell, is that if they get eaten, they freeze an enemy, which, as you can see right there, the ice Pikmin completely freeze them, which is pretty crazy. I like what that goes for. So you can see he's pretty much dead right there before he comes out. And even when you just kill him before he breaks out, he completely is shattered to death right there. So it's pretty cool right there. Another cool, interesting detail I like is that obviously every time when a new Pikmin comes out, they always change the bulb and flower of their head. And you can see they give off quite a yellow vibe right there. So that's pretty neat. A nice little yellow flower now. So we've so far seen like the first three, red, blue, and yellow, have like a white flower. The purples and pinks had a nice pink flower, and we've seen the rock and wing Pikmin have a nice violet flower, and now we see these ice Pikmin, they got a nice cool yellow golden flower. So I like the design as well. Also, it looks like this is also somewhere in a backyard as well, but you can also see some other details like more of a pot plant, the same kind of stone brick wall, big tree right there. I see what appears to be, must be a wheelbarrow area, because this looks like a wheel and some other related wood like locations. So that's pretty cool right there. Another cool feature that we noticed, that because they're ice, they apparently can help you get across the water. You actually can cause them to freeze the water and become ice, and you can slide on it. So there's probably going to be more tricks that you have to like require to make like a full platform if you want to get across them instead of just going underwater. So that's a pretty cool idea what they're going for right there. Looking forward to see what they go for that one right there. Another thing that's pretty interesting that they introduced is this little guy right here. This weird like creature right here that looks like a dog or something like that. It looks like he has like like he looks like a dog in some way, but he's like a smaller creature dog, and he has like his own fluffy white pollen-like tail right there. So it's interesting what this guy's going to represent, if he's like some kind of another form of a Pikmin, or maybe like which I doubt that, obviously, because he doesn't look remotely like that, or he looks like he's going to be a new companion you might encounter. I'm surprised Eldemar never ran into him when he was traveling a little bit, because he looks pretty interesting. But anywho, hey, there's mysteries in here in PNF 404 that even Eldemar probably doesn't know, pretty much. So as you can see by the look of it, you can control him and make him like a paladin to help you out. He could be used to apparently knock down some of these these pots right here to help you get past some areas. So there's gonna be some good areas to use him for, pretty much. There's another point where you can actually use him to carry him, and it's about 10 Pikmin when you carry him, which I think is almost like half, like at least half of what typically purple Pikmin is. Because I think if purple Pikmin pick up another enemy, it's like 20, I believe. I can't remember. I think it was like around that. So just like half of that. So he basically carries half of what a purple Pikmin basically carries. So he can carry about like 10 Pikmin and use that to his advantage right there to do that. So there's some pretty interesting stuff to come out from that, pretty much. We also get a good look at apparently the rest of the crew. So apparently they're all, honestly, I'm kind of a little disappointed about the clothing design a little bit more, because I usually like how unique each of the characters in the previous games had unique different suits with different color variations. Like obviously we've seen some Charlie, Brittany, and Alf literally have like blue, pink, and green colorations with their cool, nice little specific spacesuits. These guys just have all in general red, but maybe it's a representation of their team, so I guess I accept that. Speaking of the team, let's get a look at what they are. We do get a name right now at first for one of them, Shepherd, who is this chick right here. She might be the leader of the bunch, because she looks like a tough SOB right there with that headband and stuff like that. And she looks like she has something on her cheeks, looks like paint. So she must be the leader of the team trying to investigate this land. We do get a look at another person right here. Has a very nice egg-like shaped like head with blue eyes. And he appears to be like he might be like maybe the scientist kind of studied the bunch maybe. And we get a look at this guy right here. Gray hair, green eyes, big rosy cheeks, obviously. So pretty interesting to see who he is pretty much playing out. I thought maybe he looks like kind of like someone who could study a lot of stuff more. He looks like he could be like all around kind of guy to help out in many situations. And then we got our main character we saw a little bit early in the course. So we'll see where that kind of plays out very much indeed. We get a good look at the dog again, obviously, from here. And before we move on for this, we can first see some other important details. Obviously, we can see what appears to be something floating. It looks like a toy ship. So, and it's glowing. So it must be like a rare treasure to give right there. We also see the Wollywogs, the yellow Wollywogs turn once again. So yellow Wollywogs are back at it again. You gotta watch out for these guys. They can slam into you and your Pikmin. But one of the coolest part is that you can see that apparently the dog can let you and the Pikmin ride it in the water, which is pretty cool. So you can ride the Pikmin, ride this dog with the Pikmin in the water and keep them safe from drowning and get them across that. So there's gonna be some stuff where you can get everyone out of that. I don't know how many or so, of course, but that is pretty cool. We also get a look from the behind, of course, another more yellow Wollywog, more this area where the bridge area, which I think is where eventually one of our spawn locations is, pretty much where the ship is. And you go look at that toy ship. There's a bucket right there, everything like that. So that's pretty good details to the environment. Now we get to the big part right here, because as you can see right here, you can see that we are no longer outside. We are now in an underground cave. Yep. It looks like the return of the underground levels are back now. The return of underground levels. So if you ever played Pikmin 2, basically they introduced underground levels where you can go through in each of the different certain locations you visited, and they would have like tons of treasure and more enemies to go into. They would have different sub levels until you reach the final one, which is usually a boss, maybe sometimes. And it was pretty insane to do in Pikmin 2. It was a lot of stuff pretty much to do, and it was really enjoyable. They didn't bring it back in Pikmin 3 though. So it was gone after that. We were just pretty much back in the main up level, pretty much back in the surface. But now it looks like it's returned, and we get a good look at one of the sub levels right here. It looks like some kind of nice dirt ground like area with some more plants. I'd see some more of these pots. I think there's those little creatures, where you call them again. They're like little ones that are basically the female ones that don't really hurt you, and there's like the male ones which can actually do hurt you and take your Pikmin. So we see them in action, obviously, of course. One thing we do get detail is if we look at the text, there's also mention of another of the characters named Oachi, which he says good boy, so he must be talking about this dog. So the dog's name is named Oachi, so we're expecting to see the dog's name Oachi right there. So pretty interesting to see about that right there. So Oachi's the dog who's gonna be pretty much helping us for around the game, probably in many situations. So obviously that's gonna be interesting right there. There's also mentioned, she says, you found a castaway. I'm not sure what that means by that, unless there's gonna be something important you might find around. So we'll find out. We get a good look again of the cave area. Once again, the nice girl right here and Oachi and the Pikmin riding each other together. We do get a look of, I think, another treasure right here, which looks interesting. There's like, appears to be, I think, like a binder or something like that, or it looks like one of those clippers you would use to fold up for any other papers and documents and stuff like that. It looks like there's another treasure to probably get your hands on. We get a notification and from looks like Oachi detecting something. It's mentioning a person, and we do get a good look at that because as we see, we do see what appears to be the exit level right here. So this must be the exit, and we see another, seems like a person right here wearing a entirely different suit. It looks like a gray and white suit, the gray and mostly the arm and leggings, and even also a white suit. Although we don't really know what his face looks like. He has a blue light, which is giving me off like Louis vibes almost. But obviously, I can't tell if that even is Louis because he's like a little more, because I can't see the face, obviously. So who knows? It could be someone we know, maybe Louis or someone else, but it's probably not. We also get some text of the other person I mentioned with the gray hair. His name is Colin. So we got Colin and we got Shepard so far right now, pretty much from these people right there. So it's a castaway. So I guess the point of the game as well, maybe to find castaways, people who probably got lost traveling the planet to find maybe treasure and stuff like that. And it looks like you might save someone, so pretty interesting right there. This is the coolest part right here because I think we're still in the sub-levels. This must be the final sub-level of this same cave, and we get a good look of a boss fight, which it looks a lot like BD long legs or mega long legs, which were these spider-like creatures that would stomp their legs around, and in any Pikmin coffee they would get squished and dead. Looks like a very young or unique version of it. It's like a disco ball or something like that with like pretty cool like circular like color blue lights right there on him. He seems that he also spins like a disco ball, as we see right there, because if you look, he did spin a little bit right there. So he must be some variation of the mega long legs with those big feet and all that stuff. So he might be a very tricky one to deal with. We also get a look of the exit from over there. If you saw the corner moment right there, you can see like the bright lights. So if we like go back real quick and see that one moment right there, we can actually get a good look at what appears to be the exit. Just want to kind of get a look. You can see the bright light right there pretty much at one point. Another thing I'm just going to mention that is interesting detail, because this is the final level by the looks of it, but you can't see anything in the darkness at all in the light. But there's something pretty interesting about the detail at this point. It's right here. You see that right there? Look at those weird little rectangular lights right there. It looks a lot like that. I think we're there currently right now. The sub like up levels right now is actually inside a building, I think, because it looks like the typical like lights you would see in some official buildings like schools and stuff like that, or other related important buildings. Like if you go somewhere, it looks like something like those three like rectangular lights almost. So this must be, the sub must be inside, despite the fact we have grass. You might be in a place that might be just dirtied up and left abandoned, or maybe there's like another location somewhere in these suburbs that just give off that vibe right there. That might be like a little plant, like an ant farm or some kind of plant like that, because this has a lot of dirt area and there's like a building like structure. Again, I can't make out of it because it's so dark in the background, but it looked like right during that, like inside that area right there, you can perfectly see what appears to be some like lights right there. Another key fact I almost want to mention is that we do see at the exit is like a mention of a 1. I don't know what that is. It looks like it's a blockway, so you might need to complete something or maybe defeat the boss if you want to escape, I believe, properly, and probably keep your treasure. I think I remember like in Pikmin 2, they never had something like that, and you just exit if you want to, even if you don't want to fight the boss fight and take all your stuff. I think they're doing that now to kind of make it a little bit challenging. You have to probably defeat the boss first before you can get out with all your treasure and stuff like that. So they're adding a little bit of a challenge at that point right there. There's also something glowing right there too. You can see like a blue lines in the background, so there must be like a signal or something like that. So pretty interesting to see what goes on right there. Next is another location. What appears to be like is another cave location. We see like it looks like some brick-like location, stuff like that. But we get a return of the Empress Bulblax, I think it's called, or something like that, because it's like this weird worm-like creature that squirts out these little baddies right here. They're like little baby ones right here. These guys, I remember I was so annoyed by these guys. So basically, she would squirt out these things that can instantly just eat a Pikmin, and even after you try to take them out, and they would pretty much die once you get them out. At the same time, so you gotta be careful managing your Pikmin. I don't know how balanced that would be, because see them eating them up right here in one swoop right there, completely getting them. And we get a good look of the Empress Bulblax in action as she obviously rolls down the situation and letting more of these guys come out of nowhere right there and see him action. So you can tell, obviously, she's going to be in business right there. Oh, they got to be careful, though, because obviously they can squish your Pikmin and kill them. So you got to be very careful right there. You got to be careful not to let their Pikmin get squished. We also get a final look at the exit. Obviously, it was a water geyser, and then instead it looks like a air filter or something like that. Like, it looks like that now, so it like blows you up and sends you off like that. I kind of feel like that change should be not like that, honestly, because I always loved the nature of the geyser. It looked pretty cool and felt like that fitting to me. But hey, I mean, it's a new design they probably want to go for, so it's a nice little air blower right there that will send you flying out of there to exit out of the cave. So yeah, the cave is back in business, guys. The cave is back in business. Moving on next, also for this scene right here, we do get a good look at them. Looks like what appears to be Oachi and the other captain right there, seems like getting teleported into the mini shuttle with all the other remaining people we've seen before. There's Shepard, there's Colin, there's the other guy, as they react and get pretty excited about that, and it looks like they take off. So it looks like apparently they took off like that and they left them. So my guess is something must have happened. My guess, maybe the concept is that maybe the ship crashed and it needs repairs. So that's probably their mobile base. And you probably will take this along with you along for the ride, basically. So obviously this is not the main ship you'll be taking along with you. This will be, and this is just their main form of camp base for now until the time being, at least until they can get everything repaired. But we do get a good look at them launching, not in nighttime as we know typically we've seen in previous Pikmin games, but we do get a good look at how it will launch, and probably we'll see that down the line. As you can see, it launches up both the Onion and the tiny little shuttle right there as they take off and head off. It appears to be into space, and we get a good look at the Pikmin 4 logo, which is pretty cool. So it got me pretty excited about it. But we do get a look at one thing, and this is where it got me excited. Where we get a good look of nighttime in the same one of those locations. There's the same wheel and the same like shelf and stuff like that we've seen before, and we see some more items right here, which is what appears to be like, it looks like star bits almost, like Mario, which is based on like another Japanese, or I think type of candy that has like honey sweet taste or something. I forget what you call them, but they're actually quite a little sweet taste. But then we get a good moment right here of a Bulbor, and then all of a sudden, just that out of the blue, and immediately just glorifies and goes on an absolute rampage right there. That is creepy right there. And then we get which before we mention is, I think this is a planned thing that they've been wanting to plan for, and it's now that we're able to go down to the surface during nighttime. So the concept of Pikmin has always been that we always have a full day that have to get through before nighttime, and then once nighttime rolls in, Olimar and the rest of Pikmin have to escape the surface and get out of there before the enemies kind of get around and obviously do the little hibernate related situation right there. But it looks like now we're finally getting a good look at now what nighttime feels like when traversing the Pikmin planet, obviously a PNF 404. And it looks like we do see one example, because the Bulbor all of a sudden gets like red eyes and just immediately goes into like immediate rage mode, which I think now night mode is a representation of probably it's gonna be like a harder version of traversing the planet. If you go into nighttime, you now have to deal with the enemies much more tougher than ever before, I believe. So this is pretty interesting to see what this is going to be like, obviously, and how the challenge is going to be like. So I'm pretty intrigued by that. Also, we do get a good look at those little starbit like things with the candy I mentioned obviously earlier. There might be a collectible to collect right there for something, so who knows what they'll be like. But I'm pretty excited about what this game has so far. This has definitely got some pretty good content to see so far just by looking at it. And then we got a release date right there, obviously, which will release on July the 21st 2023. So get down your calendars, guys. July 21st 2023. So I'm pretty excited by that right there. I cannot wait to actually get this game. Pretty excited by that. Pretty excited. Okay, moving on to like the next big interesting thing. I'm just kind of going over obviously all the other more interesting things I'm prefer the most. Obviously, we got a good look of that. The Nintendo Switch Online will be introducing Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. Unfortunately, Game Boy Advance games, you're only going to be able to play if you have their expansion pass. They did the same thing with the Nintendo 64, which is still kind of disappointing me. So you have to cough up a little more cash for a reason. But hey, there you guys go for that. But you at least can play the original Game Boy games on that. So that's pretty exciting. They have a lot of these games. These games include obviously Tetris right here. They have also Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins, the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX, so the original kind of one right there for that one as well, and Gargoyle's Quest right there, Game & Watch Gallery 3, Alone in the Dark and the New Nightmare, and Metroid 2 Return of Samus, and Wario Land 3. So there's a lot of games right there, and even Kirby's Dream Land. So there's a lot of games they got right there for sure, and you can play them all obviously in many variations of designs, like the original Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, or even Game Boy Color. So there's a lot of pretty cool, exciting stuff out of that. Honestly, I'm really excited about that stuff right there, and you can play it together locally online. And there's other games that have been announced for the future, including the Legend of Zelda, the Oracle of Seasons of Ages, the Pokemon Trading Card game, and Kirby Tilt and Tumble. They also announced, of course, the Game Boy Advance games, and it will introduce some pretty cool fun games, including obviously Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3, WarioWare Incorporated Micro Games, Kurorin, Mario Kart Super Circuit, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and Legend of Zelda The Minish Cap right there. And once again, also many of those multiplayer games right there will also be available for local and online play for everyone who has that too. And there are more games to come out, including also more games come out, which is like Metroid Fusion, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Fire Emblem, F-Zero Maximum Velocity, and Golden Sun. So you can see there's a lot of exciting stuff coming out for sure for this reason. So pretty big hype right there. Pretty big hype for a lot of those games right there. So definitely get your hands on that for sure. Moving on next, to also mention that it's just a little bit light, but it's still something I'm pretty excited for, is the fact that we heard news about the next course pack, obviously their next side, obviously. And that is they're introducing Yoshi Island as part of their next part of the course for the booster pack. That is really cool. I really love Yoshi's Island, and honestly, looking at this design, it looks pretty awesome, not gonna lie. I really love what they're doing down to the design of the clouds, the enemies that are featured in it, the trees, the water-like locations. I really am anticipating for this one because it looks pretty exciting, it looks pretty cool, and I really love the fact that they're also bringing Birdo for this. Birdo has not been seen in, I think, pretty much a Mario Kart game since Double Dash, since she was like a partner with Yoshi. So obviously this return is nice to have a little addition there, and there's other variations by the look of it, because as we look closely, we can see other color Birdo. So commonly, obviously, the Birdo we know usually is pink. Obviously, she's usually the color pink, but it looks like she comes in many colors. This includes orange, yellow, green, blue, and there might be other ones maybe of purple, red, and maybe some other ones too. So it's gonna be pretty interesting to see all the different color variations you can choose from. They're doing the same thing like they did with the Yoshis and Shy Guy situation right there. It appears to be also some pretty cool features with the map right now that you can interact with, because like one of them was just briefly right there when Birdo just flew right into the question mark cloud with wings, which typically usually if you hit that with a Yoshi egg in the game, you would make them spawn in. And look, it actually spawns in a platform you can see building up right there, which is a pretty good detail. So that looks pretty neat. I'm looking forward to see what I kind of go for that right now. So pretty cool. And they have a cool launch area right there, the glide from the volcano. So pretty dope. Probably go into the clouds. We saw it briefly before in the trailer. So it's pretty cool. So Wave 4 is shaping up to be pretty exciting. Although they seem to only show that. And obviously there probably is going to be more to that within that wave. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But hey, nice something to look forward to. And it will be available spring of 2023. So big hype on that one. Big hype on that. Now, we've already about explored almost everything I'm mostly interested in. There's just one more guys show, obviously, and I know everyone's excited for. I know there's been a lot of games that were announced during this event, including a couple of them. I would say I like to talk about like the Samba de Amigo, which is pretty cool, or the Disney Illusion Island. But those are just some games I would say I'm lightly pretty excited for the most. So far to me, just from my taste, obviously, I'm excited for Pikmin 4 and obviously the cool extra stuff with Mario Kart 8. Obviously, there's also Kirby's Return of the Dream Deluxe, which is pretty exciting for the content, including some of the stuff they're gonna go for, but I'm not gonna mention too much because it's just obviously kind of like a reboot of it up to the Switch, obviously from the Wii. But the most exciting one I do want to talk about, of course, is obviously the one that everyone is talking about the most, And that is, of course, Legend of Zelda Tears of Kingdom, which I know is an anticipating title for a lot of people. Everyone's looking forward to the most. And based on what we saw the trailer, it looks amazing. As you can see, we get a good look of all of Hyrule in a complete dark moment. Rain, lightning, a lot of these enemies, like the flying creatures and those little goblins that are working in the mine caves. We do get we do see see like a dragon. It looks like it, because if you look closely on this bridge, you can see a dragon right there, which is pretty cool. That must be Hyrule Castle, which is completely now invaded by Ganon and stuff like that. So the whole place is pretty much in complete terror and chaos, and the graphics look nice. We also hear a brief moment of Ganon speaking, also along with the red blood moon that's also going crazy, which usually helps power. I believe, remember from Breath of the Wild, when it does happen, it's usually when it powers up the enemies. Obviously, so makes them very, very strong and ever, pretty much makes them very strong, and causes a lot of chaos from that. So you can see there's a lot of cool shit right there from the cutscenes, and the enemies going out of bursts right there. So you can see they're exactly not going to be exactly the same we saw before, probably in the Breath of the Wild. They're going to be definitely more stronger than ever, more tougher. We do see a brief one, which I think appears to be, it looks like Link riding Epona right there, the horse right there, which is pretty cool. Brief one, it looks like appears to be some kind of cool traps in a nearby cave area, which is cool. Another like temple or something like that he's investigating. We also see more types of enemies we've seen before previously that are going to be introduced, like these big goblin-like creatures, maybe some new ones. This guy's got a horn right there. We see this big like one-eye goblin-like creature right here. We see him a brief moment of Link gliding at this one moment as he explores in this one area, obviously, of Hyrule, which is pretty cool. The beautiful grasslands, which is pretty nice. They definitely went all out with this, which I'm pretty excited about. It's just the graphics I'm amazed the most. This looks phenomenal in gameplay wise, and just seeing this, it's got me pretty excited. I like this enemy right here. We get a good look at right here. It's like made of blocks, so that's pretty cool. Definitely gonna be facing against this guy. But obviously the big one is, of course, we get a good look at Ganon. As you can see, he's not looking exactly pretty right here. He's got his like heart completely corrupt right there in his red hair as he just freaks out at that one moment right there. And boom, just sudden moment, eyes already, pupils right there, and just that creepy, disturbing face as he stretched out his mouth. Man, that is peak performance right there of a villain right there, pretty much. I am pretty stoked by that, very much indeed. So really cool indeed, very much. So it's got me pretty excited right there. And obviously we even hear, I think, Zelda during this say that even she's kind of worried that Link might not be able to defeat Ganon. But obviously we know Link will not give up, and he's going to do everything he can to hopefully fight against Ganon and his forces to hopefully protect all of Hyrule. As we all know, we get to go look at some other weapons right here, like this cool one arrow shot. It looks like it locks onto an enemy, so like a lock-on arrow, basically. It's like it's go homing in. We see him this one, which I surprised me that he starts rail riding right there, which is pretty interesting. I didn't know I was unexpected right there, but you could see what appears to be a shield he's riding on. So he must be using his own shield to ride the railing, which is pretty neat right there. We get a good look. It appears to be the gauntlet that he has or something that he can now use instead of the tap we remember him using. And it looks like he's trying to like use it to solve a puzzle. He has this one moment where he's using a weapon that fires like some kind of projectile at an enemy right there. And we get a good look at that gauntlet right there, which is pretty cool. I don't know if it's really gauntlet or if that's like his replaced hand. Like he must have got his arm cut up. I'm pretty sure it's just a gauntlet probably or something like that. But either way, it does look pretty cool though, and makes Link just really badass as hell. Really awesome. And we can go look again. He lifts something metal up there and sends it flying. And it looks like you can use it to make even contraptions as well. He's riding what appears to be some kind of go-kart. We see him using like a hot air balloon right there, even a drone-like one up in the sky. So there is some pretty interesting contraptions involving the gauntlet and many of these mythical-like contraptions. So I'm looking forward to see what they kind of do for that. That's pretty exciting though. I think it's really neat. And then obviously we get one last shot of this beautiful area right here as it heads off, and we get the logo. And I'm gonna tell you this for sure, I think this could be a really fun game, guys. Now I do remember that I heard about some things about the pricing. It's gonna be up like $10 more, so it's gonna be like $70 instead of 60 like you typically do. So I don't know how that's gonna feel for a lot of people, but we'll see what happens. At least that's what I heard. But one more thing before we move on though, because they did mention as well, and I'll mention this for all you guys who are collectibles, like if you guys want to collect stuff, they do mention that also they're having their own collector's edition right here. So if I'll mention this as well for all of you peeps out there, this includes obviously the game, a cool box that comes with it, a steel book, which is pretty cool. I like the steel book there. A icon art of a poster which shows Link appears to be in some kind of sky-like area. I'm pretty sure that like based on like Skyward Sword. A pin set, so it's probably like pin set with some symbols that you know from Legend of Zelda, obviously. And also a cool art book, which shows some designs, how they work on the game right there as well. So I do like where this is going right here. Obviously, I can see that a lot, that it's not as much as what they did before with the previous one, because I know that there's a lot more that they did in the Breath of the Wild Collector's Edition, but this still looks pretty cool though, as I like very much indeed. They also mentioned Amiibo will be supporting it, of course. Amiibos are back, of course, obviously. So it was gonna be this cool new Link Amiibo that has him stretching out and showing off his gauntlet right there, which is pretty cool. So I like that. As well as also, apparently, they do mention this as a tease, that you can scan the Amiibo and apparently get yourself cool theme materials and weapons based on what you scanned on, including the paraglider. One where if you scan the new Amiibo, you get this cool paraglider that shows obviously Link's tunic armor from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom right there. There's one that shows, obviously, it looks like designs meant for the style of basically Epona and stuff like that, obviously, in that design. Here's one in style for, obviously, I guess, Skyward Sword, because it also shows Zelda right there and the bird-like creature from Skyward Sword. I actually still have yet to play that game. I still need to do that, so pardon me if I don't remember some. And the cool one is if you scan the nice little Link that we all know from Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, you can get this one right here for from Majora's Mask, which is going to be actually Majora's Mask on it, which is pretty cool. And I love that very much. That is probably one of my most favorite ones right there. I think that is going to be some really cool, pretty cool stuff right there indeed. I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, I think that's going to do it right now for this video. That is everything to talk about for this. Those are just my games preferred. I would probably say I'm more excited for the most. Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, the Mario Kart Course Pack and stuff like that very much are probably pretty exciting. That, and even also the fact they're adding Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games to Nintendo Switch Online and the expansion pass. So pretty exciting to me, honestly. So I'm pretty much stoked by this indeed, and I look forward to see everything. And I'm pretty much mostly excited for is Tears of the Kingdom. That stuff, it could be the big game much. I'm still quite disappointed about this Nintendo Direct. There were a lot of plans that I was looking forward to see. I was hoping to see like a new big Mario game soon, as I was hoping for, but unfortunately we didn't get that. But hey, no worries. I still think this is pretty exciting, and I look forward to the future right there. But anyway, with that being said, that's going to be everything to talk about. Let me know what you guys think about this Nintendo Direct. What's your most excited thing? If you have anything exciting in the comments section below, tell me your thoughts on Nintendo Direct. I want to definitely hear about it with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Keep on partying. I'm your host, Game Pizza Boy, host of the Pizza Party, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good rest of your day. Take care, everyone.